Welcome, everyone. I'm joined by Lilac Cana, a financial advisor here with us from Experior Financial Group. Lilac and I work together in the same company, in the same organization, in the same team at Experior Financial. And I'm thrilled and happy that she's here with me today because today we're going to be talking about how to be an artist and a financial advisor at the same time. Or, said in another way, how to be like in business and how to follow your creative pursuits. As a millennial, it's really common for millennials to have two different loves, and pursue both as a career. So I'm glad we're able to speak today. Thanks so much, Lilac, for joining me.
My pleasure.
Great to be with you. Thanks for spending some time with us. I know that there's going to be a lot of value from this conversation because people are going to get, an experience of what it's like learning and listening to someone who's been in finance for a really long time, but also being an artist in a really long time. So tell us about your artistic background to start, please.
So I think I was born singing out of my mom's womb. And I started singing when I was really young. And for over 20 years, I was really making my living as a musician. So I went through classical music training, and I sang with the Canadian Opera Company, which was a highlight of my career. And I've recorded 7 CD albums. Like millennials probably don't listen to CDs, but back in the day,
I have some.
CD albums, right? Yeah, and I've also released some new music of my own through iTunes, and it's all out there. So music is my first love, and it will always be with me. But sometime after going to school and with the changes in the economy, it was becoming hard just to make ends meet. You could be like the most excellent musician, and a lot of artists as well, a lot of creative friends who try to make their passion their bread and butter. It's not always possible. So a lot of musicians, a lot of artists have always had a job, or if you're not teaching what you do, you also find other ways to make ends meet. I was very fortunate that, in my family, I've always had my father's influence because he has always been a businessman. And when we first came to Canada, I was like 8 years old. I'm from the Philippines. I was born in the Philippines, but I grew up in Canada. And so growing up here in Toronto, from 8 years old onwards, I've always had the experience of my father and his colleagues always doing business. They did have an agency, and I never really paid much attention to it. I was just busy being a musician until I realized that, apart from part-time jobs in high school years to after graduating from university, it came to that part where, as much as I love music and most musicians and artists, we really, in the beginning, consider material gains. It's really more about following your passion, having like artistic excellence. But then at the end of the day, one realizes that, I really would like to maybe have some savings, maybe buy my own home and things like that. So that's when I started to realize that I should look into something. And it was just right there. But the funny thing is, I never really thought to step into my dad's shoes. He didn't mention it at all. I didn't get an invitation from him like overtly, but it came about in a roundabout way because a friend of mine tried to sell me insurance. I said, well, thanks, but I'm covered. My dad's taken care of that a long time ago. So he said, no, fine, that's fine. So a few months later, he came back and said, Lilac, if I can do this, if I'm a musician and I've started to look at another career path, and if I can, you can do it. So I said, well, why not? So that was the first introduction into I got my license through the sponsoring company, and I worked the first year or two. I was just, to be honest, I was miserable. Like, it was just like, yes, I did this, mentally, yes, I had this idea that I wanted to be financially well off, at least taking care of my own needs. But my heart and everything else, my passion, like my the habits that I had formed to be an excellent musician were just so ingrained that the first year or two of it was just like not really sinking in. My why of being a financial advisor wasn't really set yet.
Mm-hmm.
So it took a few years. Good thing I didn't quit, right? So I was just doing it kind of part-time, right? And still more gigs and the teaching. Eventually, though, I started to really get a handle and got more in confidence. And when you help people financially, it is a very different reward than just, applause that dies down after the show is over, right? And then you start having relationships with the clients that you have helped, and you see that your advice has actually, really helped them in a practical way, having better savings, the right type of insurance. So it started to grow on me. So then from there on in, I moved out of the career, the captive agent situation. I felt ready to join my dad. I felt like I needed to prove to myself that I could do it before I allowed myself to work with my dad. And he was always just waiting there, because we're three in the family, and I have two brothers who are both excellent in what they do, but no one was really interested in joining the family business. And my dad encouraged me. He said, it would be really natural for someone for one of my children to just be the next generation, because the families know us, and then you would be able to help them and their children and their grandchildren. So I gave it a try. And then a friend of mine in 2017 started to talk about a different model, and to be truthful, other people have also invited me to other multi-level type of organizations like Primerica and WFG. I actually did legitimately take a look at these two companies, didn't join up because something wasn't really there that was, it was missing. But when I was introduced to Experior, that really did it for me. I'm like, yeah. First of all, it was the people that the leaders and the agents in this company just have a level of, genuineness that I really that I found attractive, and that, I want to be associated with the company that I can feel proud of. So, I hung my hat with Experior, and it was a bit of relearning in the first year, because I was just working for myself. I was more of an independent broker. I would just sell, and that's it. And, when there was no activity, I could do some of my music, and then just come back to selling. I thought myself as more of a salesperson, and that was that. But now with this model, I realize that you are accountable to others as well, especially if you're going to build a team.
Yes.
Which is what I want, because in the end, I want the freedom of time, as well as the fact that you have built something which gives you passive income.
So if I got what you said, it's funny, your dad, you said, never pressured you into joining his industry or his company.
Not really. I think because he didn't think I was interested.
Yeah.
Because I was just so focused on my music.
Yes. And then so it's cool because he never did that, and then maybe that gave you the space to one day just walk in. It's like, instead of banging the door over your head, he just left the door open and you just walked in, you just opened it. You looked at other companies as well to join more of a community-based organization, but you didn't join those because you didn't find the alignment with the people or with the values.
And also the culture of recruiting and selling, and not really about, educating, or the compensation structure, where most of the comp goes to the people who are already licensed and someone coming in. The thrust was much more on just recruiting anyone, and also not enough training as to not just selling, but why are we doing this,
Okay. So the other organizations you mentioned had a push on selling and recruiting, whereas we had a focus on why are you doing this? And you had training backed up. You were
Right.
backed up by training and the benefits of helping families.
Yes.
Okay, great. So take us back to your creative pursuits for a moment. Tell us about your accomplishments in the singing world, because you must have come out singing, like you said. You must have been born singing, because you've got a lot of accomplishments in the singing, in the music world. You've had a fantastic career there.
Well, yes, it was a lot of fun for many years. I went to opera school in, like, fast forward from high school to I for some reason I've always loved classical music since I was a young girl. Of course, I also grew up with R&B, and I played in bands and things like that. But I had a really great mentor, and she pushed me to take the art of singing, to the highest level that I could. So I really focused on it. I went through the conservatory curriculum, and then I auditioned for the opera school at U of T. And I also studied in Europe. I lived in Austria for a while, and I've been to Italy a few times, and
Mm-hmm.
I really studied the craft of like operatic singing. And I was so happy to have gotten the chance to work with amazing international artists, with the Canadian Opera Company for 4.5 years. And I stayed there for 4.5 years, but then I was inkling to, you know, grow more, and I didn't want to stay there forever. And so I started having solo gigs here and there. I also worked with other singers, and we would tour. We've toured in the States throughout, and I would go back to the Philippines and do concerts there every winter, because I also had
Oh yeah, every
yeah,
Canadian winter.
yeah. And teaching there as well. So it was just a lot of fun, and I had the idea to like do my own recordings. So I have 7 CD albums, right? And from the beginning, when I was just out of school, it was more like a resume,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, this is what I can do, different
Mm-hmm.
styles of music. But then people started buying these CDs, and I'm like, yeah, let's get like. And then one thing, as I also progressed as an artist, that would be like more operatic, and then I started to do more modern stuff, and here's jazz, and here's some of my own compositions.
Mm.
So, and then I got them out on. I have a YouTube channel. I also have CD Baby account, so these songs are being heard all over the world. People
Yes.
can download them. I've done a lot of charitable organization works as well, and I do believe in giving back. So if my music can inspire people, that's what thrills me the most about it. Like, the money was never the main thing, right? It was the fact that you could reach people and really touch them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what got me into it, and what still keeps me singing.
Yes.
But fortunately or unfortunately, we have to pay the bills too, right? So
Sure. You've even
so
sang in front of royal families as well, you told me once.
so I'm Catholic, and I have always been, in some way or other, a church musician as well. And several times I have been able to be invited to sing for very special occasions. So Pope John Paul, when he came to Canada, I was one of the soloists there. That was like the hugest crowd. I think there were like close to 1 million people.
Wow.
And at Downsview Park, I feel right. That was
Oh,
the start of it.
World Youth Day.
World Youth Day, yeah.
Wow. That was
I've
huge.
also,
That was massive.
yeah, I've also sung for a couple of Philippine presidents, pretty high up people, and
I think
also
the Pope qualifies.
I've met a couple of our prime ministers and have sung for them as well. Harper and Trudeau, I've sung for them. So it's, so music is a universal language which unifies us all, right? It's the language of the heart and of the soul. And that's what I found to be the most gratifying in this career, where money was not the main objective. It's the fact that I really have this desire to reach people from a heart and soul level,
That's
right?
beautiful. So you've touched me there, and I think you touched everybody, because we feel it from you when you say that. So how do you balance, the heart and the soul and the music, and then kind of like the logic left brain side with the numbers and the finance? How do you balance that?
I'll be honest, it took a few years of me like not beating myself up for like the thing is when I first started the career as a musician, you're very physically active. Like you're singing, you're gigging, you're touring. I'm a very kind of active physical person. So sometimes to just sit there with numbers, I thought to myself wrongly that I had to shelve my passion and just be all like mental and mind, right? So that was the problem. Whereas lately, I've realized that, when I connect with people and I listen to them, what do people need from me? People are in debt. People don't have enough savings. They can't even retire. They don't even have emergency funds. I mean, I know this because, working with entrepreneurs and artists and everyday people, working people, a lot of Canadians don't have anything in place. So that's where it started to change for me, was that, sure, I'm not singing for you, but I'm here to like create something that will fit you, a personalized plan that will help your family to have the right protection, to get out of debt sooner, and to have savings. So that's where it started to change for me, was that my desire to help people with the tools of financial planning. So that's what it was. So I had to put my heart and soul into it as well. I didn't have to cut myself off.
That's fantastic. That's so brilliant that you say that. And it's like, maybe you can put your heart and soul into anything, right? Maybe that connection that you expressed earlier about connecting with people and putting your heart and soul into what you're doing, whether it's music, maybe it can be applied to sitting across the table from someone at their dinner table and explaining how an investment works or why an investment is a good option or a good choice at this time based on their needs, right? Maybe we can connect that way, heart to heart, in whatever we're doing, whether it is art or finance or whatever, painting or writing a book or teaching, whatever it is, right?
Absolutely. I think I was resisting it at first because I felt like I was losing. I was having to give up my first love, right? And something in our trainings too, like, so the mindset trainings at Experior have helped me tremendously, and the leadership and the sharing among the advisors that we have here, quality people, right? So something that I read before, I don't know who it was, probably Brendan Burchard, or that your passion doesn't have to be the one that pays the bills, but the way that you approach your career can be about the why. Why am I doing this? Because I want to be financially free. I want to provide for my family whom I love. I want to have enough money so that I can give to my favorite charities. The why can be one of the most important things, and it's not about the what, right? So yeah, exactly. So that's like, and also the second thing is there's a lot of pain points in people when it comes to money. So in my first couple of years,
Yeah.
I encountered a lot of people who were very reluctant to share what's really going on in their bank account, or lack of bank account, lack of savings. Yeah. So that's the way I've started to pivot, like from the, the things that can make people quit, right? Like a sense of rejection, a sense of, I don't know, I guess it's a fear also that if I was so good at one thing that I did before, and suddenly I have to start from the beginning, and,
Wow.
I have to like be like,
Perfect or something.
you have to have beginner's mind, right? And
Yeah.
you have to be coachable.
Isn't that a great way that we tend to self-sabotage as humans, as people, as entrepreneurs?
Yeah.
Is we think, if, I was really good at this one thing, I can't be good at this other thing.
Right.
But actually the opposite should be true. It's like, okay, all I did was commit myself fully. So
Right.
I got really good at this one thing. If I
Yeah.
just commit myself the same way over here, then I could be really amazing at this thing too.
If only I could get out of my own way. right? Like get over the
Yeah.
ego and get over the pride, and like don't hang on to those accomplishments as though that's the pinnacle of your success. That was in the past.
Um, what have you gained since being a financial advisor? What is being a financial advisor given you?
Truly and honestly, when I started to really apply the knowledge, first of all, to my own situation, of course, that gives you a sense of real freedom, like as in you are in, it's not that you're controlling your destiny, but you are empowered to have the tools to get your life to where you want to be, first of all, right? I mean, you do have to be somewhat, healthily selfish, right? Meaning, if you can't have your house in order, how are you going to convince others, right? It allowed me to know how to get myself back on track in terms of getting rid of debt, having the right predictions, have, money starting to be saved, the quality of life started to improve, right? I have friends who are brilliant at what they do, whether it's music or visual arts, and yet it's heartbreaking to see that they're just struggling. They are just struggling still, like, struggling to pay the rent and not getting ahead, right? So for me, it's like I had to get over the guilt of like making financial wellness. Maybe it's because of my Catholic upbringing or whatever. I had to change my relationship to money, right? Money is not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, being financially healthy is a good pursuit as long as you know why, because I need to be strong for those that I love.
Mm.
So it starts with self. So what did I get out of the financial services industry? A sense of, um, you know, taking care of myself. So that's a very important thing at first. And then the second, of course, is the ability, especially with Experior, not as a solo producer like I was before, but now I have that sense of family with my team. My team members, most of whom are Filipina ladies. It's either they have families of their own or they're doing this part-time. I have one or two gentlemen about to join us as well. But, it's like helping them to have these tools to help their families and to be able to share this with their community and their
Mm-hmm.
friends and their client base. So it's the multiplication of your ability to make an impact in the world. That's an amazing gift that Experior has allowed me to start to develop. Um, and yeah, thirdly, like amazing, friendships with new people, like always new ideas. Like if you are open enough, there's a lot of learning to be done all the time. And it's not just about finances, but the mindset. So that has really helped me a lot in life as well.
Beautiful. Fantastic. A couple more quick questions.
Mm-hmm.
Why are financial advisors important in your opinion? You help a lot of clients. Your father's in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
You've been in the industry for 15 years now. And, your father was in the industry, so I'm sure you picked up a few things from them. You've served a lot of families, a lot of people. In your opinion, why are financial advisors important?
We are an essential service to humanity, I think, because uh, as as long as we need financial, like as long as our societies function on, the give and take of currency and money and things like that, people need to have the right knowledge to empower themselves. And we are, first of all, we are in an educational role. So good financial advisors help to empower their clients to know enough. You don't have to learn everything, but just for them to be aware of how money works in their own lives. Secondly, we are beyond just selling, the products. We can actually help people to have, a career that can also change their lives if they choose that path, if they choose to if we want to duplicate our knowledge and give it to this interest degree to like make this a career. um, and basically also, like, for example, in my own situation, people can call me for whatever, so I'm always there for the family. When something happens, someone is diagnosed with an illness, and then or someone passed away. I'm also, by the way, I have a background with funeral pre-planning. So
Oh,
when
that's
someone
right.
dies, or before that, that whole area is something where I have stepped up and helped people in their
Mm-hmm.
need.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's a whole different kettle of fish as well. It's not just about money, it's about being of service.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for those three reasons mainly, financial advisors are very essential.
Fantastic. Last words. What do you have to say? What words of inspiration do you have for other artists or creative types to, improve their finances? And also, like you mentioned, Canadians need help. There's a lot of Canadians that we both see that do not have the right essentials set up. So what inspiration do you have or words for other artists, creative types to consider, getting their finances in order, and maybe even, because we're hiring, and like you said, coronavirus right now, we're an essential
Yeah.
service.
Yeah.
What words can you say to help people consider, a career in finance, which will give them those improvements in their own lives, as you mentioned, but also help other people as well?
Yes. So to all artists and creative types out there, I really just salute you, because we do need the arts. The whole world needs the arts. So please keep on doing what you do if you're able to. But knowing that if it's not enough to pay the bills, please be open. Please be open-minded. Just as you are brilliant in what you do, you can use that same ability to learn to apply it to a different arena, where when you get the right kind of coaching and the right kind of support, you will also flourish. And allow this knowledge to help yourself first, get your financial house in order, and with that, you will get more knowledge, more confidence, to be able to help others as well. If you choose to have this as a second career or a side career, as you're pursuing your art. When it comes to balance, the balance may not be 50-50. It might be just like the investor profiles that we have. It might be 60-40. It might be 80-20 at first. Necessarily, you will have to do this first. Like if you're really serious about getting into the financial services, I've learned, like from my own mistakes, that you really do have to sacrifice a little bit of you have to focus on it for the first 2 years at least. And as painful as that is, it will start to give you the ability to have more freedom of time, and then you can get back to doing your music and not worry about having to be paid for that, right? Or art or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, those things. So apply your intelligence and success that you have in the career of being an artist to be here, but then you have to be open and coachable to really learn quickly. Focus first, and then you'll have more freedom of time later.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Awesome. Sounds like you really speak, the language, and you speak to the needs and speak to the soul, the heart of a, artist.
I try.
Yeah, that's obvious. All right. Well, Lilac, thanks so much for everything you shared with us. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your accomplishments and your success and your gift that you've honed and mastered in your craft. I've gotten to hear you sing. It's lovely. It's delightful. I know Daniel and a lot of other agents and team members at Experior, we get to hear you, Christmas parties, events, and celebrations, which is wonderful. So thank you for that. And I hope that you continue to share your powerful, beautiful voice with us. And thanks for helping families and being a part of Experior, being a part of our team, and doing all the great things you do every day.
Thanks very much, Michael. It's my pleasure.
How can people get a hold of you or get in contact with you?
Well, I'm on Facebook, Lilac Cana, and Instagram, Lilac Cana as well. It's all across. I have my own little website there. It's my family business, Cana Wealth Solutions. And I'm generally available through social media. If you Google my name, you'll see how to get a hold of me as well.
Yeah. Fantastic. So Google Lilac Cana, and I like Cana Wealth Solutions as well. That's pretty powerful.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Lilac, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Mike.